Township Council meeting, July 16, 2013.
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meeting Law by filing the notice in the office of the Township Clerk and by posting the meeting on the bulletin board at the municipal building on December 10, 2012, where it has remained posted since that date. A legal notice appeared in both the Daily Record on December 14, 2012, and the Star Ledger on December 13, 2012, and was forwarded by fax to other local newspaper and local radio station on December 10, 2012. In addition, adequate notice of the location change of this meeting has been provided in accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meeting Law by filing the notice in the office of the Township Clerk and by posting the notice on the bulletin board at the municipal building on June 21st, 2013, where it has remained posted since that date. A legal notice appeared in the Daily Record on June 26, 2013, and was forwarded by fax to the Star Ledger, Parsippany Life, and local radio station on June 21st, 2013. Note, excuse me, council meetings are videotaped and air on Cablevision Public Access Channel 21 at 12 p.m. on Sundays, and also available at viewing at www.parsippany.net.
Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Here.
Mr. DePiero.
Here.
Mr. Ferrara.
Here.
Mr. Nelson.
Here.
Council President Stanton.
Here. Also present, Mayor Barbario, Jasmine Lim, Business Administrator, Paul Cazarelli, Assistant Business Administrator, John Inglesino, Esquire, Township Attorney, Yancy Wazirmis, Township Clerk. Please rise for a flexo. Mr. Ferrara, if you would.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, before we get going, I just want to notify the public that we have pulled the water view off of today's agenda. We had a few questions, and the ordinance was not finalized. So as long as the ordinance is finalized, I'd like to make a motion that we move 8/6/2013's meeting and 8/20/2013's meeting to Parsippany Hills High School.
Second.
Motion by myself, second by Mr. Farrar. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Council President Stanton.
Yes. Upcoming meetings, August 6, 2013, 7:30 p.m. Agenda meeting at the Parsippany Hills High School, public invited, public participation. 8/20/2013, 7:30 p.m. Regular meeting, Parsippany Hills High School, public invited, public participation. Bids to be taken, July 24, 2013, at 11 a.m. Design purchase of electrical consumption optimizing equipment for Township Parsippany-Troy Hills Water Waste Treatment Plant. July 31st, 2013, 11 a.m. Repaint a Lackawanna elevated water storage tank. Okay, ordinances, second reading, public hearing, ordinance 2013:18, Mr. DiPiero.
Ordinance 2013:18, an ordinance amending ordinance number 2012:09, adopted February 14, 2012, in order to provide a change authorized by such ordinance due to a transposition of utility titles. The above ordinance was published in its entirety in the Daily Record, the official newspaper of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, on June 25, 2013.
Second.
Motion by Mr. DiPiero, second by Mr. Farrar. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes, at this time, I'll entertain a motion to open up ordinance 2013:18 to the public.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Farrar, second by Mr. Nelson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. At this time, I'll open up motion 2013:18 to the public. See no one come forward, I'll entertain a motion to close ordinance 2013:18.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Farrar, second by Mr. Karifi. All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. DiPiero?
Whereas the above ordinance was read in title on second reading and the hearing held thereon, now therefore be it resolved that said ordinance be passed on final reading, and that a notice of final passage of said ordinance be published in the newspaper according to law.
Second.
Motion by Mr. DiPiero, second by Mr. Farrar. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes, ordinance 2013:19, Mr. Farrar.
An ordinance of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills in the County of Morris, New Jersey, amending ordinance 2012:29, entitled an ordinance granting municipal consent for the operation of a cable television system within the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, New Jersey, to CSC TKR LLC DBA Cablevision of Morris. The above ordinance was published in its entirety in the Daily Record, the official newspaper of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, on June 27, 2013.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Farrar, second by Mr. DiPiero. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes, at this time, I'll entertain a motion to open up ordinance 2013:19 to the public. Motion by Mr. Karifi,
Second.
second by Mr. DiPiero. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
At this time, I'll open up ordinance 2013:19 to the public. See no one come forward, I'll entertain a motion to close 2013:19 to the public.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Nelson, second by Mr. Karifi. All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Farrar?
Whereas the above ordinance was read in title on second reading and a hearing held thereon, now therefore be it resolved that said ordinance be passed on final reading, and that a notice of final passage of said ordinance be published in the newspaper according to law.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Farrar, second by Mr. DiPiero. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes, ordinance 2013:20. Mr. Karifi.
Ordinance of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills in the County of Morris, New Jersey, providing for retirement payouts and authorizing a special emergency appropriation of $1,181,397. Therefore, the above ordinance was published in its entirety in the Daily Record, the official newspaper of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, on June 27, 2013.
Motion by Mr. Karifi,
Second.
second by Mr. Farrar. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes, at this time, I'll entertain a motion to open up 2013:20 to the public.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Farrar.
Second.
Second by Mr. Karifi. All in favor?
Aye.
At this time, I'll open up ordinance 2013:20 to the public. See none will come forward, I'll entertain a motion to close 2013:20.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Farrar, second by Mr. Karifi. All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Karifi?
Whereas the above ordinance was read in title on second reading and a hearing held thereon, now therefore be it resolved that said ordinance be passed on final reading and that a notice of final passage of said ordinance be published in the newspaper according to law.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Karifi, second by Mr. Farrar. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes, ordinance 2013:21. Mr. Nelson.
An ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 169 Fire Prevention by the addition of a new section, 169-19.4, identifying emblems and lightweight construction of the revised general ordinances of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills.
Motion by Mr. Nelson,
Second.
second by Mr. DiPiero. Roll call.
I'm sorry, this is the motion to...
Mr. Council President, I'm going to make a motion to approve Resolution 2013-152.
Okay, motion by Mr. Nelson,
Second.
second by Mr. DiPiero. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes, Mr. Nelson.
Resolution R 2013-152, resolution of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills rescinding ordinance number 2013:21. Whereas the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills Township introduced ordinance 2013:21 by title only at its regular meeting on June 18, 2013, and whereas pursuant to NJSA 40:49-2, an ordinance may be introduced by title only if it is published at least once in a newspaper, published and circulated in the township or in the county, and it is made available to the public, and whereas a final copy of ordinance 2013:21 was not received in the office of the township clerk in sufficient time to effect its publication pursuant to the requirements of NJSA 40:49-2, and whereas, having failed to be published in accordance with the requirements of NJSA 40:49-2, Ordinance 2013:21 may not be opened for second reading, public hearing, and adoption by the Township Council. Now therefore be it resolved by the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills Township, County of Morris, and State of New Jersey as follows. 1. The aforesaid recitals be and hereby are adopted and incorporated herein as if repeated in full. And 2. Ordinance 2013:21 be and hereby is rescinded.
Motion by Mr. Nelson.
Second.
Second by Mr. Karifi. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes. Ordinance 2013:22. Mr. DiPiero.
An ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 430 zoning of the revised general ordinances of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, adding a new Article 44, establishing a new PRD3 planned residential development and open space district, and designating certain zone boundaries in the township. The above ordinance was published in its entirety in the Daily Record, the official newspaper of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, on July 2nd, 2013.
Second.
Motion by Mr. DiPiero, second by Mr. Nelson. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes. At this time, I'd like to invite Mr. Snikes up to give his presentation. If the council would like to go sit in the front row, second row.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Council President, I think the only other point to be made is that this ordinance is really being, this ordinance is being considered in furtherance of an implementation of a settlement agreement to settle litigation with the township.
There we go. Can everybody hear me okay? Good evening, everyone. My name is Ed Snikes. I'm a professional planner with the firm of Burgess Associates. We're the professional planners that consult to the mayor and council, as well as to the planning board. And what we'll go over tonight is a presentation of what's called ordinance number 2013:22. It's actually to establish a PRD3 zone area, and I'll explain it in a minute. Oh, it looks like our screen is frozen. Is there any way to lower the screen a little bit further, please? A little technical difficulty, I'm sorry about that. We put together the presentations so everybody can actually see the maps. Normally, with a venue this size, to put together a presentation on 24 by 36 exhibits, it's very difficult for everyone to see. So I think you'll benefit from the ability to see this on the screen. Is that in focus for everybody? Okay, I didn't have a chance to really set up very well at the beginning. Okay, thank you very much. Just really to identify the study area for purposes of the identification of the zone, and it encompasses 4 lots within Block 734. It's actually, and I'll point to this in a moment, just for orientation, at the top of the exhibit is Route 80, and adjacent to that is Mazda Brook Road in this area, Smith Road, which is adjacent to the tract, and then you have Reynolds here, and then Troy Road is up along this edge. And that would really give you the circumference of the area of where the tract is located. As I mentioned, it includes 4 lots: Lot 2, Lot 63, Lot 64, and Lot 68. Just to quickly touch on the existing zoning, what our existing zone plan currently calls for is that it's currently zoned RCW, and also R2M is in a small section of the actual study area, or the area to be rezoned. Just to give an outline of the overall ordinance, the PRD3 zone it stands for Planned Residential Development and Open Space District. And the reason for that is that it actually has a provision in it for additional potential development. In addition to that, though, there is a significant area of wetlands transition areas, and actually a 3-acre area of uplands that is going to be preserved as an environmentally sensitive area and possibly developed for a future park. The study area encompasses about 130 acres, a little bit over 130 acres. As I mentioned a moment ago, we're looking to preserve the environmentally sensitive areas. There are wetland features and buffers and transition areas that are part of this tract. The ordinance permits residential townhouse development, and I'll explain that in a moment after I go through some of the details of the ordinance. It actually calls for a maximum of 52 dwelling units. A gross density, if you were to take the entirety of the actual tract of the 130 acres and look at the 52 dwelling units to that 130 acres, it would equate to about a 0.4 dwelling unit per acre density. And that's the way in planning we look at densities and we establish these numbers based upon the tract area. So it's a very low gross density as a result of the overall tract and the environmental features of the tract. In addition to that, if you look at the net density, which is actually the area that's going to be developed, and this is important, which I'll explain in a moment, it's about a plus or minus 8-acre area where development's anticipated. And that would equate to about 6.5 dwelling units to the acre as an overall density. And you'll see in a moment how that relates to the land use plan of the master plan. As I mentioned also, there is a 3-acre area that will be actually upland in this development that's anticipated. What I mean by upland is an area that's not encompassed by buffers or wetland areas, and it's anticipated that that could possibly be a recreation area for the township. But that's a requirement of the ordinance that that 3 acres be maintained as open space as part of the development. And you'll see it's in a concise area and it's upland. The remaining open space, which equates to about another 119 acres plus or minus, and that's without the area of the townhouses or the active recreation. So you can get a sense for what's being proposed. Just to give you a now zoomed in version of the study area, again, Smith Road, again on the left-hand side, Troy Road up on the right-hand side, Mazda Brook Road up in this area. This area here right now is the PRD Mazda Brook Development, PRD 2, which is adjacent to the tract. And so what is proposed is the red outlined area will actually be the new zone line for the PRD 3 zone. What we've shown as an illustration is the approximate area of development of uplands that actually is available for development on the tract. It's adjacent to Smith Road. And then the green area, or the yellowish green area, shows the area of approximate 3 acres for upland or active recreation. And with that, we took a look at the master plan with the planning board as required by statute. It's required that we take a look at the master plan, identify any consistencies or inconsistencies of the master plan to what is being proposed. What we've identified is that it's consistent with the township land use plan, and I'll show you that in a moment. The land use plan calls for medium density category for actually where the area of development is proposed. And in that medium density category, it permits up to 7 dwelling units to the acre. So if you recall, I was talking about the net density of the development, and that's at 6.5 dwelling units to the acre. And you can see how it's consistent now with that medium density category. This is an enlargement of the 2004 master plan land use plan map that's in the master plan that the planning board took a look at. And I'll approximate the area where the PRD 3 zone is. This is approximately where Smith Road is, and you probably can't see it very well. But the Forge Pond area is approximately this outline that I'm sketching for you with the pointer. And what's shown here in the orange is actually the medium density residential. At one time, back in the 2004 master plan, it was anticipated that that could be developed. And it was shown for that medium density residential. And the area that I'm outlining now is the approximate area where the development's contemplated. So again, you could see the consistency with the master plan. What is shown also is a environmentally constrained subcategory of the land use plan, and that encompasses the remaining area of the tract. And in fact, due to new updates to the wetlands laws and new investigations of the wetlands on the property, The actual environmental constrained area actually wraps around that upland area that I talked about. So that will be actually preserved forever as an open space area. So as I mentioned, the Planning Board reviewed this amendment in accordance with the statute and offered recommendations to the governing body for consideration back on July 1st. What was identified is that it furthers goals of the Master Plan number 2, 3, and 11 of the 2004 re-examination report of the Master Plan. The first goal is goal number 2, to ensure that any prospective development is responsive to the environmental features and preserving these features. And that's something that's contemplated in the ordinance and the recommendations for consideration. Goal 3 is to provide a variety of housing types and densities in appropriate locations for a balanced housing supply. Goal 11 is to protect and preserve the environmentally constrained areas of Troy Meadows, and what we are looking to do is by preserving the upland, the 3-acre area plus the environmentally constrained areas of the property, is the idea that that would be the buffer for Troy Meadows and the upstream features that feed into Troy Meadows. And what was identified also by the Planning Board is that there's significant wetland and wetland buffers. There's 150-foot buffer transition areas, as they're called, from the wetland areas. There's floodplain areas and documented environmentally sensitive habitats. All of those will not be part of the future development. Troy Meadows drainage area is recommended for protection, as I mentioned, so there's appropriate buffers that's contemplated in the ordinance to afford this protection. Also, what's proposed is in effect from a planning realm is something called clustering. You're clustering the development in an area where the development can be accommodated in the upland areas of the tract. We have lot and building coverage regulations and controls of runoff and encourage infiltration of that runoff in order to feed the streams and provide stormwater quality that's required by ordinance. The amendment quickly is a criteria overview, and we have a few items here that we've included in the amendment. Is the minimum building setback from Smith Road will be 40 feet. In that 40-foot setback will be a minimum buffer of 25 feet, and that will be a heavily landscaped area that's required and actually identified in the ordinance. The maximum height of buildings is 35 feet, permits up to 3 stories within that same 35 feet, and that's consistent, that height is consistent with the surrounding zones. It also calls for an enhanced series of features in the ordinance, architectural features, items of streetscape where there's sidewalks, crosswalks, street lighting along the streets, also additional landscape requirements and tree preservation requirements in the ordinance. And the reason for that is to encourage a quality development to be built. And we have very strict standards in the ordinance for that. And so with that, that would summarize really the overall ordinance. And I just wanted to end on this image just to show you again where the development is contemplated is in this small corner. It's about an 8-acre area of the overall 130 acres. And this is the 3-acre area approximate for the recreation area. And so with that, I'd like to open it for any questions at this point, if that's appropriate, Council President. Okay, we could probably do that. Thank you.
At this time,
Testing? No.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion to open up ordinance 2013:22 to the public.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Farrar,
Second.
second by Mr. Nelson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
At this time, I'll open up the public, ordinance 2013:22 to the public. If anyone's got questions for us or Mr. Snikes. Please come up, sign in. You'll be given 3 minutes to speak.
Hi, how are you?
Good to see you. Roy Messmer, 10 Drumlin Drive. With permission from the... Roy Messmer's on Drumwood Drive. With permission from the owner of the property, I walked it a couple of weeks ago with Jonathan Nelson. Absolutely gorgeous piece of property. First, when I heard about that you had that litigation, I wasn't happy with the change of the venue for that property, but after walking it, it's the right thing to do. I can't believe I'm saying this for that developer, but I'm saying it. You all know, I tell it like it is. The only reason why I stepped up here tonight was the 3 acres, Mayor. I do not see why we have to disturb any vegetation, trees, or anything, where just up the street we have sheep farm property that can be developed for a park. It's only maybe, I'll run it tomorrow and time it for you, it's about 300, 400 yards. There's no reason to touch that 3 acres. That's all I have to say. And if you have if I could get permission again, if any of you want to walk it with me this weekend, if I can get permission from the owner, it's absolutely gorgeous. Just wear some boots, and there are some snakes. Thank you.
Thanks, Roy.
If I may just make a comment, Roy.
I'm not going to carry it.
Well, that wetlands is a beautiful area, like you say. It would be really, really nice if we could have like a boardwalk or something through that 130 acres for kids to science, wildlife science, that type of thing.
You talk about the Great Swamp situation. I'm sorry. Like the Great Swamp situation. I'm like smaller scale, of course.
Smaller scale,
Yeah,
yes.
of course.
Yeah,
Much-
I would love to see that. There's a lot in there for kids to see.
Mr. President?
Thank you.
May I say? Roy, I just want to respond. You're right. Just to be clear, that even though that this 3-acre upland property will be deeded over to the township, the whole almost 120 acres will be going to the township. And I can't think of a better place for passive recreation for the people, not only of that neighborhood, but of the whole town, because you're right. Except for the big black snakes that we encountered, that property is just, it's gorgeous, yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, Lokesh Seth. I just had a couple of quick
Your
questions.
name and address, please, for the record.
Lokesh Seth, 77 Leah Way, in the Master Book Development. Thank you. So, just had a couple of questions. You mentioned that this was like the planned development phase 1. Is there another phase envisioned, or this is it? I just wasn't clear on that.
There is no other phase. It's really just for that 8-acre area that I had pointed out and identified. That would be the area where development's contemplated.
Okay, perfect. And, we are always curious as to what the exact wetland areas is. So if towards the end of this you can point out in the map what's the confirmed wetlands area, that'll give all of us Mazda Book residents a sigh of relief that our greenery is not going to go away. So, yeah.
Gotcha.
Well, under the settlement agreement, the rest of the property will not be developable. I thought that's what you may want to do.
Yeah, that's probably best to say. Yes. Thank you.
Seeing no one else come forward, I'll entertain a motion to close 2013:22 to the public. Motion by Mr. Karifi, second by Mr. Farrar. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. DiPiero.
Whereas the above ordinance was read in title on second reading and a hearing held thereon, now therefore be it resolved that said ordinance be passed on final reading, and that a notice of final passage of said ordinance be published in the newspaper according to law.
Motion by Mr. DiPiero,
Second.
second by Mr. Nelson. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes, at this time, I'll be turning this over to Jasmine Lim. We'll be talking about the police salaries that were tabled for this week, and I'll be recusing myself from the discussion.
Mr. Council President, I'd just like to make one point of order before the business administrator speaks. Earlier this year, I wanted to talk about, discuss the creation of a legal department, and right before the meeting began, I was told I couldn't because the discussion wasn't placed on the agenda. I don't see this anywhere on the agenda, and I'd just like to make it known at my displeasure that just be consistent.
Okay, I know it wasn't on the agenda. Last week, we tabled it for 1 week so we could get the salary guide, so we're going to go forward. I'll be recusing myself from this point.
Okay.
What we wanted to talk to the council about tonight was the hiring of replacement police officers. As you know, we are down to 91 police officers at this point. And in the budget, we had planned for the hiring of 5 replacement officers at the probationary level. We have already hired 3 new officers, 2 at the probation, well, all 3 at the probationary level right now, although 1 comes to us with 8 years of experience from another police department. The police chief and the administration are requesting that we be authorized to hire that officer at step 2, which is about $51,000 in 2013. That leaves an additional 2 positions that were scheduled for hiring at the probationary level. As we mentioned last week, we are aware that the sheriff's office is going to be letting go some of the sheriff's officers, and we would like very much to be in a position to hire some of those police officers as lateral transfers. This gives us the ability to get police officers on the street immediately. We believe that 91 uniformed police officers is too low. We are expecting additional retirements. We know of 2 additional retirements at the end of this month already, but we're expecting additional retirements later on in the year. In addition, mistakenly, 2 police officers at higher steps were left in the budget as a carryover from last year's budget. And we're going to request that we be allowed to use one of those slots for a police officer to be hired at a higher step. And this is in part because of our agreement with the Board of Education to assign 1 additional school resource officer. Presently, we only have 1 officer assigned as an SRO. If we assign a second SRO, that will take a police officer off the streets. So we would like to use that slot that was unintentional, but it is in the budget, for a 6th new hire.
I have a question. The step 2 that you're talking about, what rank is that?
As a patrolman.
It's
That's
it's
still patrolman, right?
Yes.
They're still out in the street.
yes.
So the difference between the probationary and the step 2 is the probationary have to attend the academy.
Yes.
Correct.
That's approximately 6 months,
Yes.
and then they have to be trained on the routine of an officer. So when you, as I understand it, when you hire a probationary, you're talking about approximately a year before you have a productive police officer. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and if you hire a step 1 or a step 2, they've already gone through that training, and so they can become active almost immediately.
That's correct.
Okay, no further questions.
So you're going to take 1 from last year and 1 from this year to make a step 2. Is that what I understand, or no? I'm sorry.
No, there are, we've already hired 2 who are probationary officers.
okay.
They have not gone through the academy yet. So we would keep those 2 slots as probationary. The other 3 new hires that were in the budget at probationary, we're requesting that we be authorized to hire at step 3 or lower, up to step 3. Step 3 is almost $59,000. And then the 6th officer also, we're asking for the same authorization, that $59,000. And we may be able to hire at a lower step, but we would like to request the council's authorization to hire at up to step 3 if that's necessary. And, the other thing I'd like to just note is lateral transfers, especially from within Morris County tend to work out exceptionally well for us. They are very familiar with Parsippany. Frequently, we've already worked with these police officers, sheriff's officers, and they just have a good, I think it's a very good match.
Just one more summation, if I may. The police department is authorized by our ordinance to be a 113-man police force, and that's a recommendation from the state also. For a township our size and the interstate highways that go through it. We're down at 91. How many are eligible to retire today?
I believe probably at least 10 and maybe as many as 15.
So it's possible by the end of the year we could be down 10 more. It's possible.
Yes, it is
Possible.
half of that. I would say
Possible.
5.
Yeah,
So if we don't start hiring back some of these, we're going to be in drastic condition in
Yes.
the township. Okay, thank you.
It also does affect our overtime budget, obviously.
Jasmine, just, I was a little confused. Of the 6 new hires, are 2 of those new hires, those going to be SROs?
No, only one of the 6 would be...
One of the 6, okay.
Well, they won't be an SRO, but it would replace whoever takes the SRO position.
If I may add, what Mr. DePiero was stating about if you hire police officers and you send them through the academy, they're there for 6 months, then their additional training. It is going to take them about a year with their field training office and everything else before they're technically on the street by themselves. And if we are going to have potentially another 10 officers retiring at this year, if you were to replace them after they retire, we have to think about their replacements will not be on the street for another year on their own. So the department could drastically be below that 91. So I think that's something that we need to keep in mind. I know when you hire a new officer with all their equipment and everything else, the additional training, not only are you paying their starting salary while they're in the academy, there's additional costs that are incorporated in there, so that actually jacks up what they really are costing us while they're in the academy, which brings them to almost equal to a higher step in essence anyway.
Okay, now, Brian has stepped down. What do you need from us right now? Since we don't have a resolution or an ordinance?
We don't really need a resolution or an ordinance. We have the money in the budget. We wanted to bring it to your attention and ask for your approval because we had a pretty extensive discussion during the budget meetings about the number of new hires.
Okay, do you need a straw poll, or?
Yes, that would be fine if you want to take a vote on it.
Yancy, would you do a straw poll, please?
Straw poll? Sure. Mr. Karifi?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
Brian back?
Well, not you want to post it. Oh, they can get
Did he go out there?
Where did Brian go?
He left.
We're going to have to deduct this from his salary.
Mr. Stanton.
You know,
There he
oh, there he
There
is.
he
There he
comes.
is.
Oh, here we come. Jasmine?
At this time, I'll entertain a motion to open this up to the public. Motion by Mr. Karifi,
Second.
second by Mr. Farrar. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes, at this time, I'll open this up to the public. You'll be given 5 minutes to speak. Once you come up, please sign in.
So what you're opening up is general...
Open game, 5 minutes. Well, semi-open game.
Yeah, I'm Steve Arnold. I'm from 4 Craven Road in Mountain Lakes. And I wanted to bring up a question or a comment regarding the ordinance that you're in the midst of preparing related to Waterview, which isn't on the agenda. But the issue I want to bring up is the overlay concept versus writing the ordinance a different way. And so far I haven't heard any discussion about that and why it's being done as an overlay. And I'm not sure what you've prepared so far either. What I've seen up till now has been as an overlay. Seems to me it could be done as using the existing ordinance and modifying the conditional uses. That if you want to approve some uses, whichever they are, you could put them in as conditional uses. And then the developer can develop office buildings, or they can do conditional uses with satisfying certain conditions, and the underlying regulations, etc., of the ordinance still apply. So, to me, I don't understand why it's going the overlay approach, and I wanted to bring that up to you so you consider it as you proceed with the ordinance that you would be preparing. Maybe it's a better way to not go the overlay approach. So that's the only thing I came up to say.
Thank you.
Nobody wants to come up.
Pat Pataccio, 182 Hawkins Avenue. I'm addressing the council tonight. At the July 9th agenda meeting, I requested information regarding a rumor I heard that on June 22nd, Firehouse District 1 held an affair at the Knoll Country Club, and that outside property was damaged, approximately $7,000 worth. Golf cars were taken for joy rides, and 2 individuals were named as causing the damage. One was supposedly a town employee. It is grounds for termination if a town employee is caught destroying township property. The Director of Utilities advised on July 9th that she was leaving it up to the firehouse chief to speak with his volunteers regarding their behavior. The golf carts weren't locked up. They were in a shed, so they didn't break into anything, and there was no monetary damage. It is my opinion that the transparency just isn't there. It appears to me and others that there are parts of this story missing. So I ask this council to represent the people who elected you and initiate your own investigation into this matter, in a public forum, of course. The residents deserve to know. Also, nobody answered my question regarding whether or not a town employee was involved. I heard he was also a volunteer fireman. The names I and others heard are Angelo Barbaria and Eric Wilson. If it was in fact them, these individuals, in my opinion, should have been charged with examples being defying trespass, destruction of property, taking property without permission, which is theft. They should have been treated the same as anyone else would have been. If Mr. Wilson was involved, possible termination is warranted. I am also concerned that it appears the council was not made aware of this incident until weeks after it happened. Where's the transparency? If you council members are prevented from doing an investigation, or you don't feel the need to investigate further, please let the residents of Parsippany know. Transparency is what the residents of Parsippany expect from their elected officials. Thank you.
Thank you.
Roy Massmer, 10 Drumlin Drive. I didn't anticipate speaking tonight because of the water view ordinance, but I put some notes together and give you council administration an update regarding the boarding room tax. July 11th, I met with Senator Joe Panaccio. It was a very productive meeting. He totally understands the concept and what we're trying to do here. Monday, yesterday, July 15th, I spoke to John Lowell, town manager. I think I have his right. I've known him for many years. Town manager Randolph and Tom Russo in Newton. John Lowell was very funny. He picks up. I'm sorry?
John Lovell.
Lovell, thank you. Even I'm horrible with last names. John picks up the phone and goes, "Oh, Roy, you call me up on the garbage settlement?" I said, "No, John." I said, "But it is on the front page. It'll be probably on the front page tomorrow." John thanked me, and one thing I can say about John, he will get back to me ASAP, what they're going to be doing up there. I gave him the statute, or whatever you want to call it, the information on the website. Tommy was very thankful also. As of tonight, I have accumulated, with the help of many residents of Parsippany, approximately 20 possibly boarding room locations. Councilman DePiero, you seemed stunned last week that Parsippany has a boarding room problem. As I tell everybody in this town, your attendance at these meetings is impeccable, all the years that I've known you being here. But you also got to recall how many residents over the years, not even just recently, have come up to a microphone and let this council and your predecessors know that they've got a boarding house in their neighborhood. From Powder Mill to Lake Hiawatha. Councilman Ferrara, yes, we have a big occupancy problem in this town, but this boarding room tax has nothing to do with over occupancy. It's a totally different issue. This boarding tax will not immediately resolve the boarding problem in Parsippany. Mayor, Sam Fedler, I heard a couple of weeks ago you gave him a proclamation at the Elks. I've known that young man for many years. He lives in my neighborhood. I know his father. I know his older brother, Andy. Thing I would like you to take under serious consideration that for the future, that an individual who is serving our country be given an eagle like we used to do at a council meeting. It's something that him or her can really hold. I remember that evening when Andrew D'Amico came in, and what a beautiful speech. I know you two worked with Andrew. Joe Walensky, who also served on the Expeditionary Force, could not be available this night. He reported back to college. Regarding what Pat Patacci brought up tonight with the golf course situation, I think we can resolve all this very quickly. I am respectfully requesting that the council president ask the 4 fire commissioners from District 1 to come to the next council meeting so that you 5 council people can get the story as to what happened on June 22nd. Public will not be able to ask any questions at that time. It would just be you 5. Thank you.
Thanks, Roy.
If I may respond to Roy regarding the boarding house. I am still not aware of any residential zone in Parsippany that allows boarding house, by the definition that the person is renting for less than 90 days. I'm not aware of any ordinance. I'm waiting for Ed Sinakis to get back to me and tell me what residential zones boarding houses are allowed. I don't have an answer back yet, but I don't believe we have any. And so, I haven't seen that yet from Ed Sinakis. I want to see that in writing because I don't believe we have any.
Just to add on to what Mike said, if we have 20 addresses that you have and they're illegally boarding, I'd rather see the people thrown out. Forget the tax. If they shouldn't be there, get them out of the house.
Well,
See, are they tenants or are they boarding houses? That's the differentiation. You have no tenants could be somebody that's renting there, whether it's legal or illegal. They could be tenants. Okay, boarding house they have to be there for less than 90 days. How you differentiate that or how you track that or police that, I don't know. But I don't think any zone allows it in Parsippany.
Mr. Council President, the issue that Councilman DePiero raises is a legal issue. There are constitutional issues involved in that. My office is reviewing that. We will have a legal memo prepared. I think that your zoning ordinances do not, I think they're silent on whether or not folks can rent out rooms in their homes to other folks for 90 days or less, but there are constitutional issues as to whether or not the township can prevent such practice from occurring, and I will address that at the next council meeting.
Thank you. Seeing no one else come forward, I'll entertain a motion to close the public.
So move.
Motion by Mr. Farrar, second by Mr. Karifi. Roll call.
Excuse me, Mr. Karifi?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
Mr. Stanton?
Yes. Consent agenda. Be it resolved, all items listed with an asterisk are considered to be routine, non-controversial by the Township Council, be approved by one motion. There'll be no separate discussions on these items unless a council member so requests, which case the item be removed from the consent agenda, considered in its normal sequence of the agenda.
Second.
Motion by myself, second by Mr. DePiero. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
Mr. Stanton?
Yes. Ordinance 2013:23. Mr. Farrar.
An ordinance of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, County of Morris, State of New Jersey, authorizing the establishment of a government energy aggregation program. Be it resolved that the above ordinance be introduced, read by title, and passed on first reading at the meeting of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, held on July 16, 2013, and that said ordinance be further considered for second reading and final passage at the meeting to be held on August 20, 2013, at 7:30 p.m. Prevailing time or as soon as thereafter, as the matter may be reached at the municipal building in said township, at which time all persons interested shall be given an opportunity to be held concerning said ordinance. Be it further resolved that the clerk be authorized and directed to advertise said ordinance with the notice of introduction thereof of being published in the official newspaper according to law.
Second.
I'm sorry, Council President Stanton, just before you vote, we just want to change the location of the meeting from the municipal building to here at Parsippany Hills High School. Just want to make a note of that.
Noted.
Thank you.
Ordinance 2013:24. Mr. Karifi.
Sorry, we need to do a roll.
We have to do a roll call.
Roll call. Sorry.
Who seconded?
I thought we did it.
No.
There was a second.
I'll second it.
Mr. Karifi?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
Mr. Stanton?
Yes. Ordinance 2013:24. Mr. Karifi.
Before I, excuse me, before I read this, Jasmine, how much do we currently have in the sewer surplus right now?
Possibly $5 million.
Currently, the sewer surplus is $3,975,000.
I'm sorry, Paul.
How much?
$3,975.
3 million?
Let me explain to you where that comes from. In January of 13, the sewer surplus was $10,300,000. The mayor and the administration instituted a rate reduction, which reduced that by $1,200,000. The mayor and the administration also instituted a surplus give back of $1.5 million. So now you're subtracting from 10.3, the 1.2, 1.5. $2 million of surplus was used to, as budgeted surplus in this year's operations, 2013. In addition to $550,000 of sewer surplus was used in the current fund budget. And with this ordinance, the down payment on the bond is $1,075,000. When you subtract all those numbers, you end up with $3,975,000 in surplus.
Okay. Paul?
Yes.
Just to follow up, I have the exact same numbers before you read them. We installed, I think it was last year, a new meter at the sewer department. And tell me if I'm wrong, but I think that we thought we were taking in about 13 million gallons a day in sludge, and it was, I believe, a little under 10 million now. And because of that, towns that contract with Parsippany to use our sewer department, they'll be actually paying a significant amount more this year to the township. So my question is there an anticipated surplus going forward? And do you have any numbers, like a 3-month, 6-month, 12-month anticipation of what the sewer surplus will be back up to?
Councilman Nelson, I'm not in a position to project surplus numbers. I can only give you to date, and what you had mentioned is the new flow meter was just recently installed, and it's measuring 9.5 million gallons per day through the plant. And that's...
Will the township be bringing in more in revenues from other municipalities?
Well, what we plan on doing, Councilman, is one of the things is good news for us, is that now we have the ability to market the remaining flow, which is our total plant is able to process 16 million gallons per day. So what we are doing right now is we're trying to market the remaining flow to outside towns. In addition to, we are also reviewing our current ordinances to become more in line and competitive with other wastewater treatment facilities in terms of treating groundwater and other types of waste. In addition to, we're also looking into leasing the property. You know, the idea here is to generate more revenue so that the residents will pay lower rates for their wastewater sewer plant. I just want to let you know, Parsippany's wastewater treatment costs are the 6th lowest in Morris County.
This might be confusing to some people, but this is actually...
And I will tell you this, Councilman, the preliminary bills to the outside towns are slightly higher as a result of that greater percentage.
Okay. What kind of percentage?
I
I couldn't hear, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, what kind of percentage?
I'm recalling that it's over $1 million.
Okay, all right. This is probably confusing to some people in the audience, but this is a very good problem that the township has. The sewer plant is very efficient. It's making a lot of money for the townships, which in essence means that it's good for all the residents. This bond ordinance was introduced last month, and it was voted down, and it's being introduced again this evening. What I would suggest, and what I would like to see, is that what you're asking us to do is authorize a bonding for 15 years for approximately $3 million, for the $3,325,000. Over the course of 15 years, interest payments on this bond will be approximately about $800,000 in payments. All I'm suggesting is that if we go ahead and authorize it, I would like to see in this ordinance some kind of measure that you won't bond unless the surplus drops below an agreed-upon level.
You can't.
And I think that's very reasonable, and if we can pay this off in a 5-year period, we will be saving the township and the residents approximately between $770,000 and $750,000 over the course of a 10-year period. So I'm not saying that we shouldn't be bonding or we shouldn't be authorizing you to bond, but I would just like some measure that we can agree upon a number that if the surplus drops below a certain limit, because we all know that things can happen and we do need to maintain a certain surplus, but for almost 2 years now, people have been asking, what's the right number we want to keep? So in this way, it kind of gives us an insurance policy, and it kind of forces the administration to at least tell the council and the residents what kind of surplus we would like to keep. So if all I'm asking is to table this for the time being, come back and give us a number, and work with the council.
With Councilman, if I may, we've given you a number, and Director of Utilities, Mr. Bober, is very adamant that we keep $5 million in the surplus, and right now we're at 3.975. You can make as many projections as you wish going into the year, but you can't use those dollars.
We're at $4 million.
Let me finish, Councilman. And it's very, I think, irresponsible to take current cash surplus to pay for projects that have a life of 15 years. It just doesn't make sense, and it doesn't make financial sense for the township, because then you're going to affect the ability for us to even lower rates. We're trying to lower rates for the residents, and you know, if you're going to take the current cash and deplete it over a 1-year period or a 5-year period for, like I said, projects that have 15 years life, and anybody that you know, the people for those 5 years will be responsible for that debt, but anybody that comes into Parsippany after that has no responsibility towards that debt.
To table this now would be irresponsible because every item in this bond, okay, is needed by that department. The sewer department needs the items in here. That's why they're here. The tabling of it, or the defeat of it last month when I was my granddaughter's graduation, first meeting I've missed, and I don't know.
No, it wasn't tabled last month, it was voted down last month.
But the township had to have a tanker, and they had to purchase that. Did you purchase that?
Yeah.
Will you wait? The tanker.
You got a 4 million gallon a day plant upgrade, you have a lab renovation, Lake Arthur pump upgrade number 4.
What happened to the tanker? Was that?
That was the next page.
That has not been purchased yet, Councilman.
So that's in here?
Yes, it's an essential part of our bypass plan according to the New Jersey DEP.
All these items are needed by the sewer treatment plant to operate. Tabling would be irresponsible.
Can I just note one other item? By using a $1 million down payment, that's a huge down payment, and I think we did that purposely to start getting the surplus down, and we'll continue to do that in future years. That has almost the same effect as paying this bond off over a very short period of time. Next year, if we have capital items and we again put a significant down payment down, we're going to be whittling down, but slowly and at a pace that we're comfortable with, rather than immediately diminishing surplus by several $million dollars instead of $1 million at a time.
Here's my concern. And like, again, this is a good concern. We authorize the bond ordinance, and I know this is a hypothetical, but this is not really too much of a hypothetical, that the surplus jumps up to $10 million, $12 million, whatever the number is. And here we are having this big number of surplus again. A huge number. It's already been established that it's a very healthy sewer department. We're going to be collecting revenue from outside sources and other municipalities. Those rates are going up. Even if we authorize this bond ordinance, that doesn't mean that you have to bond, correct? Is that correct, Jasmine? No, I'm asking a question before I make... Okay, just a quick question, just so I understand where we're at.
No.
If the council authorizes you...
Yes, okay. I'm just tired of the discussion.
Yes, my understanding is that this bond ordinance does not require that we bond. Oftentimes, towns will use bond anticipation notes for a number of years before they go out to permanent financing, if they even do that.
But you would have to encumber the required amount to be put down on the bond.
Yes.
How much would this project cost over a 5-year period of taking out short-term notes? Do you have any idea?
No.
Mr. Council President, I like to make a motion to table this until next month so we can talk about this a little more.
If I may, President Stanton.
No discussion on the table, motion to table.
Huh?
No discussion on the motion to table.
Okay.
There's a motion to table ordinance 2013:24.
Okay.
Hearing no second, motion defeated. Ordinance 2013:24, Mr. Karifi.
An ordinance of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills in the County of Morris, New Jersey, providing for various sewer utility improvements for the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills and appropriating $4,400,000, therefore, and providing for the issuance of $3,325,000 in general improvement bonds or notes of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills to finance the same. Be it resolved that the above ordinance was introduced, read by title, and passed on first reading at a meeting of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills held on July 16th, 2013, and that said ordinance be further considered for second reading and final passage at a meeting to be held on August 20th, 2013 at 7:30 p.m. prevailing time, or as soon as thereafter as the matter may be reached at the Parsippany
Well, you can say
Hills High
at
School.
the municipal building or such other venue designated by the council.
At the municipal building or such other venue authorized by the council in said township, at which times all persons interested shall be given an opportunity to be heard concerning said ordinance. Be it further resolved that the clerk be authorized and directed to advertise said ordinance with the notice of introduction thereof being published in the official newspaper according to law.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Karifi, second by Mr. DePiero. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Ferraro.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
No.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes. Resolutions, non-consent agenda, applications, or 2013-163. Mr. Nelson.
Resolution of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills Township Council authorizing a place-to-place transfer, expansion of premises, ShopRite, license number 1429-44-010-008, 808 Route 46.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Nelson, second by Mr. DePiero. Roll call.
For the record, Councilman Farrar has recused himself on resolutions 163 and 164.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Ferraro.
Abstain.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes, or 2013-164. Mr. DePiero.
Resolution of the Township Council of Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills approving and authorizing retail liquor license renewal for the licensing term July 1st, 2013 through June 30th, 2014.
Motion by Mr. DePiero, second by Mr. Karifi. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Ferraro.
Abstain.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes, before we go into adjournment, Mr. Nelson had a question for administration.
Yeah, it was actually two questions. Last week on the agenda was a discussion about the purchase or the possible purchase of 360 Troy Road. Will that be introduced next month, and can you just explain the genesis of this and what that project is about?
Ruth-based property.
You're talking about the Ruth Pace
Yes.
property?
Yeah.
That has, the township has been looking to acquire that property for over 10 years, spanning 3 mayors. It was scheduled to be subdivided into 2 lots, and the Open Space Committee and the Morris Land Conservancy, now the New Jersey Land Conservancy, have recommended that the township purchase that property.
Okay.
Let me just add on to that. I was one of the yes votes to purchase that 10 years ago. Now, a lot has changed in 10 years. We have 480 homes in Lake Hiawatha that were flooded out, and we have a drastic tax reduction there from those homes. A lot of the businesses in town, the commercial properties, have filed for tax appeals. Their income is down. They're hurting. Office space is vacant. Times have changed in 10 years, so where I supported this purchase 10 years ago, I would not support it today under today's conditions.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Councilman.
Okay,
Councilman
will that be on
DePiero.
for next month? Jasmine?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
And I think we were going to discuss it. You wanted to discuss it before
Yes,
it was introduced, so.
And-
We would propose a discussion during the addenda meeting next
Okay.
month.
And Jasmine, the only other question I wanted to ask in open session was, the council received an email from a resident yesterday about some questions he had over in Mount Tabor. Is that anything that you can discuss in public, or do you have anything you can provide us about that, regarding the Mount Tabor Country Club?
Meeting's been set up with myself, and I'm going to have the township attorney in regards to the request with the CMA. If that's what you're talking about, the golf.
Actually, I really didn't know anything about it.
So, well, you won't know about it until I meet with them, and then you won't know about it after that, because I have to find out what they're interested in.
Okay, at this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Farrar,
Second.
second by Mr. DePiero. Roll call.
You want them back?
Mr. Karifi?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
Mr. Stanton?
Yes. Good night, everyone.
Good night.